Hi, beauties. I am so grateful to be here with you this evening. I have just posted our first song for the evening, and I'm okay if you silence me for a few minutes and listen to that tune so that you can be in the right mindset in order to be here with me making this happen. Holy heavens. Way to go, you, for hanging on this week. Candace! It's Mimi time. Meow! So, oh my goodness. All right. So, what have I come up with this week? Let me tell you all about it because I'm here talking to myself out loud right now. And I'll just post that. Candace, thank you. Super fun. Okay. So, this week I was thinking that there's like a major reframe that can happen for society right now. And as I was helping to take care of the workers all week, we are like 2 weeks out from I'm so ahead of myself right now. Okay. Welcome to Lighthouse Effects. I'm grateful that you're here. Thanks for Spirituality Gone Wild for hosting us today. And hello to all of the lovely people on all of the networks. I'm grateful to be sharing this space with you. And I look forward to many adventures and your comments and your songs, because that's what makes this flow. Lighthouse Effects is all about how do we help to retrain the brain so that we can have more conversations through art and music. And the vibrancy that happens when you know what's going on with you emotionally, and you can kind of turn down the drama in your life and turn up the vibrancy, or at least have a choice if you're going to be super dramatic. Like, that's a choice. So anyway, turning down the drama, turning up the vibrancy and the frequency in which you can show up. So working with workers all week, it looks like New Year's will be the time that we can welcome people to come out and social distance. But for the East Coasters, for the Midwesterners, for this regional thing, it looks like the New Year's is the time to come out and celebrate and celebrate. So this week I learned how to make potatoes. Did not know that part of this. I have been like really spending time in the kitchen trying to learn about cooking and what works. And I've definitely learned like what doesn't work. I was really good at sandwiches before, but now I'm kind of broadening the palette. And so that's an adventure. And I'm grateful to be here doing it. It's the little things, you know, like washing the dishes for the umpteenth time. And I was recognizing for those people that had large families, people ended up being in the kitchen, why they were there all day, from the time that you got the fire started in the morning all the way through. It's literally like half of a lifetime spent in the kitchen. Thus, I remember growing up in a really big house with a really huge kitchen, and everybody was always in the kitchen talking. And this is why, because it was all of that prep time in order to make food taste fantastic. Or, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully it tasted fantastic. Hey, Roland. Yes, for the solstice. Yes, that's the time. I'm really excited about it. So, okay. So we have like the last final pieces are going into the studio. We just moved all of the board and everything out of the house. It's going in, like it just went in today. And so, yeah, for those of you who are catching up on that, it's all coming together. We got the baffling up and it looks like a spaceship in there. And it is. It's a time traveling spaceship, vibrancy, frequency, helping to generate and recreate how it is that we find compelling conversations with one another for nonverbal and verbal communication. And one thing that I find really intriguing about the studio is how it's based on the science of nature. So the architect is Wes Lachaux, and he based it off of 3.14, the golden ratio. So all of he's like a perfectionist when it comes to high level mathematics. So he was taking the sine and the cosine, putting it together, creating the perfect monad. And that's intense. So anyway, I'm really excited about the music that will be making its way out vibrationally around the world from this tiny little location on the earth. And welcome everybody to that. Woo! Number 2, second really fun thing is making these cards that will be available for emotional. I have the emotional hygiene class happening, which is super fun and lighthearted. And you can take the course. It's online. I will post it. So I've been making these cards that are available based on the artwork from the young people that created all of the artwork for that first big show. And that will become available very soon after I complete it and figure out with my tongue out how to make all of that happen. When you were a kid, did you, when you were studying like really hard, did you stick your tongue out at the side of your mouth and get like a little dry patch at the side of your mouth? That was me when I was learning how to drive stick shift and a motorcycle. I didn't ace the motorcycle. I crashed it almost twice. But I did a stick shift driving, and I learned in San Francisco on the hills. And so it was like, and people parked like right behind you on those hills. So they're like right on my tail. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And you have a whole lot more faith in me than I have in myself at this moment. So I got out of the car the one time and I was like, can you move back? Because I roll backwards before I start going forwards. So you may want to give yourself a little bit of distance unless you're here to push me up the hill. That's a possibility as well. All right. So this was my thought process for the week. Here it is. We're rolling it out. I was recognizing that everything from breakups to like the whole COVID thing, all of this could just use some rebranding and marketing, like a really good branding person. So I'm thinking that should be me, because what I've come up with, I was recognizing in my earlier life when I would go through like these breakups and I was just destroyed afterwards for extensive periods of time. Instead, like, what if, I'm going to go through this list, but what if instead we went with like, this is like a learning curve, like these next 6 weeks that you're experiencing this torture that's going on kind of inside of you. Instead, you're going to be learning about appreciation and awareness and balance. And instead of like the stabbing heart pains that many people feel, we're going to go with like the asking for companionship and cooperation, or maybe just asking for some quiet time and getting to know yourself really well. And how can I be really good at doing some deep self-care while I am going through 4 boxes of Kleenex and feeling like I may not get through this? So these past few weeks, I've started recognizing how often I'm in this place of how many people are contacting me throughout the day and literally saying, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like they got to right about here and now they're in this place in their life and they're like, I don't know that I'm going to make it, man. And I'm like, are you sick? You know, and they're like, no, this is just, how am I going to make it through this? And so of course I like send songs and I'm like, I know it's terrible. Thank you so much for reaching out right now. I know, I hear it. And what an adventure, you know, and people are like, what the hell's the matter with you? Why is this an adventure? You know, I'm like, because I made it through. That's why. Like, this is the most, I feel like I'm on a Hollywood movie set and like daily I'm getting a different script. I'm like, wow, who wrote this? This is crazy, you know? And instead, so the piece that I feel I can contribute this week is the idea that what if instead of saying, you know, you're in lockdown for those people around the world who are in lockdown. So instead of that, it can be, hey, we're doing family time for the next 4 weeks. And during this family time, we're going to be figuring out what it is that we can clean in the house this week. And we're going to clean it the very best possible way that we can clean it. Like the toilets, like around the, like even with the Q-tip, getting out there and just shimmer shine it. All of the places that you didn't even think needed to be cleaned, like that little area right behind the sink, that little hole that gets all cruddy in there. So week one, it could be that. For those who are continuing to go on after that, maybe the next week is, how can we celebrate this week? Like, this is the family week, or if you're there by yourself, or if you're with a roommate that's driving you crazy, like getting together the best possible set list of music that week. So instead of, you know, whatever they're putting out over the airwaves, I don't know, I don't watch the news, but whatever they're putting out, for me, I would be on the news and I'd be like, this week and we wouldn't call it lockdown. What would we call it? Find me some fun ideas out there, people. We got to work on this. So what are the fun ideas that we could call it instead of lockdown? And it's not, we're asking you to not leave your house, right? Or you're going to be arrested if you leave between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. This can be known as adventure time. So what good adventures could we come up with between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m.? Hi, Sunshine. Hi, beautiful. Hi, Dad. So those are some of the like pieces that I'm starting to think about. And it reminds me of the hardest part of the end of relationships. So I'm kind of correlating these two ideas, end of relationships and lockdown, the two times that I hated being by myself the most. And so thinking about that, about this place of, oh yeah, quarantine. Yeah. Quarantine has such a bad, has like, that's a terrible word. Let's think up another word instead of quarantine. I know it's not happy time. It might be bath and shower time. So week 2 was going to be all about, if I was on one of the major networks and I was like, okay, everybody, this week we come to you from Seattle, and people would be like, nah, or however they are in Seattle. I've only been there a few times and there was some stunning coffee there. But this idea of what can you do to amp it up so that you're telling your brain, we're not in quarantine, honey. We're here in our happy place. And everybody's like, but this sucks, you know? And it's easy for me to say because I live in a state that's open. But I do recognize that when I was a kid and I was locked in with my family during those huge snowstorms for like a week and a half, and my mom would always come up with fun, really, like everybody else that I would know would be like, oh my gosh, I'm cold. And my parents, as they're putting blankets up on the walls, were like, isn't this an adventure? And I'm like, wow, okay, sure, I guess it's an adventure. But it prepared me for today. So that whole, like that living in survival mode, I became super fun at it. And so I think that I have just nominated myself in order to kind of reframe this whole thing. So when you're hitting basic survival mode and you're like, oh my gosh, when is this going to stop? Because I don't know. You know, like when we're in this survival mode together, it's retraining the brain in order to think of it as an adventure. I don't know how many of you have played the live action role play. I've done that quite a bit. It's fun, and it's always thinking of things in a slightly different position. So I remember I was in my early 20s, and I was going through the end of a 7-year relationship. And I was like, ah, ah. A lot of that. Pretty often. And this is like month 3, right? Like it took me quite a while to be able to move through and process that, because I take things like tiny little pieces at a time and then I break it apart and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exhausting. I don't think my nervous system could take this anymore. And then I'd be like, oh, maybe I should go for a hike. And I know you can't do that right now. Sorry about that. For those of you who are locked in, I've been to the bars. Yes. Hi, Vida. Grateful to have you here. All right, let me just stop for a second and breathe. And then I will roll back to Candace here. Think about already telling your brain, turn your home into a sacred temple. Yeah. There you go. So like week 1, get rid of all your stuff and clean the heck out of it. Week 2 can be, what am I doing to bring vibrancy into this house? And if you have access to music is the frequency that I turn into and that I tune into. And then start putting like really great playlists together and post them all over my Lighthouse page so that we can bring lots of like, hey, check this song out today, folks. Because I understand how often music really helps me to shift my mood from like, nah, into, oh, there are possibilities beyond death. So I did post, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, the song In the Stone. I didn't know that song prior to a few days ago. So I posted it over in the comments. Candace, it is right up near the top. So I will repost that again for you. But that's a great song. And then secondly, I posted What Are Your Needs page. So there's this, it says meditateyourlife.com. And it gives you a whole long list of all of the needs so that this week, instead of just, oh, I still have that up. Okay, so this week, you know, what are the things instead of being like, like, because people can only listen to people crying so often, right? When I was growing up, my parents were like, I don't care. Just get on with it. I don't care if you're upset about this. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? So emotions were like pretty low on the thing. So I get it. If you're like really connected to your emotions, set aside Monday for emotion time. And then set aside Tuesday for needs time. And needs are amazing because needs can tell other people, hey, these are some of my needs. I need you to get the heck out of here. I need you to never be in my life again. That's not the same. Don't do that. That's like the very low level needs. And so with like on day 2, if you're rolling after you created your sacred space and you get to your needs page and you can be like, oh, now I understand. Instead of just like saying all the things that are bad and terrible about the world all the time, I'm going to turn that volume down and I'm going to start talking about my needs. And that could be really beautiful, even if I don't have any way to fulfill those needs. That's like a whole nother chapter there. That's Wednesday. That comes after Tuesday. Wednesday is the day that you realize the company that you have around you may not be able to fulfill those needs. So by Thursday, things are looking up because you know what your needs are. You know that you're not surrounded by people that know how to make the mark there. And by Thursday, you're like, I may need a whole new set of friends and family. That may need to happen. So then like Friday through the next, however much longer they have you in lockdown, that's what you can be doing, is nourishing lots of wonderful relationships and finding all of your people. There you go. And then like week 4 or 6, I don't even know what week of lockdown people are in anymore, but approach me and maybe I'll have some fun ideas for you on ways that we can switch it up so that your brain isn't waking up and being like, is it Saturday or Thursday? I don't even know anymore. I'm just going to take a moment to breathe. No, definitely don't do that. Love music, only don't know what tune to play. Vita, please check out the tune that I put at the top of the page. And also, I need everybody to know that I don't listen to music quietly. So when I post songs, it's at full vibrancy and full volume. It's like, if I have speakers at 11, my kid just came downstairs a couple days ago. He's like, why do you always listen to music so loud? And part of it is because I grew up with a household of people who were Irish and they spoke like Irish descent really loud. Like this was the basic level of conversation, and they weren't angry. They were just, this is just them in the mornings. And so when I went to Italy, it's probably why I fit in so well when we were on tour out there, because I'm like, these are my people. Like they're kissing me and they're hugging. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you people. But their volume was full on intense in my face, all over my body. I can feel it. I love it. So this full vibrancy of music, like at what level do you listen to music? Even when I'm like ready for bed, I'm like, let's listen to this a little bit louder. Now the TV, I can handle like turning that down. And maybe it's growing up in the 1970s, and the only time like do you remember those big long radios? They had like the 8-track player in them, took up half the wall. I remember I used to just go and turn up the volume and put my ear right against the speaker because I could feel it all throughout my whole body. I love that feeling. All right. So as we're exploring all of this, I think we're on week 3 now, right? 2 or 3. I don't know. They all kind of blur together. By week 4, after you've turned up the vibrancy, after you've gotten your set list together, do you remember in the 80s? This is me every single day. I have so many things to talk about, and they all just come out at once. It's like a little floodgate. I'm like, my people, where have you been, my people? Usually I'd be driving across the country and flying everywhere and visiting. This year I've been locked alone. A long time alone. I'm just going to crack myself up here for a little bit. So do you remember making mixtapes? I used to make so many mixtapes and mix CDs for my friends. And the only way that we could make mixtapes early on was you had to like have a boom box, and then the boom box would take the sound out of the speakers, but it also took up all of the sound from the whole room. And I grew up in a pretty large family, and trying to find one room where people weren't talking at maximum volume on a regular basis was kind of a pain in the rear end. So I remember like I would like try to hold the box kind of close to me, and I'd be listening to Casey Kasem's the countdown, Casey Kasem, and I'd be like, oh, the song is coming up, it's number 3. And then they'd have like 7 commercials before they got to it, and they'd freaking be talking over the top of it while it was going. And I'm like, why did you do that to me? That isn't even fair. And then my dad would come into the room and he'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, Dad, shh. But you couldn't say shh to your parents. I would have been knocked across the room. Anyway, mixtapes. So I think it was Toto, Rain Down in Africa. And up until when was it? Who's the band that just did a remake of it? I think it starts with an H. Anyway, no, it's Weezer. I think Weezer just did a remake of that song. Okay, so for all this time, there we go. Week 4 can be all about misheard lyrics. And we can just drop in and think about all the songs that we thought that we knew what the hell they were talking about, and we didn't have any clue. That's fun. So it was, I think I'm going to have to look the song up now, but it's something about aliens, but it wasn't about aliens. I thought they were talking about, I guess the rain's down in Africa. I don't know the next one. My dad was classic for like coming in and making up his own lyrics. He's like, it's boring if you just repeat what they're saying. And so half the time I'd like have him in one ear kind of saying whatever it is that he was saying and making up his own lyrics. And then the other half, like that's why I put my head up against that speaker was to try to hear. Can you please be quiet? I'm trying to listen to this song, right? But you can't say that. So instead I'd be like, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. And the other thing that changed in the 70s, you can tell that people had really big families because they had really big speaker headphones. Like they took up half your head, especially if you had a tiny head, little head. The things were like that. And it was to be able to block out your big family. Okay, so, oh, wait. No, we got to get that. Hang on. Does anybody know that? Speak it out. It's the rain's down in Africa lyrics. Hang on. The rain is down in Africa. All right, we're going to get this. And we didn't have this either. You had to like buy the album and then hopefully they included the lyrics. It's going to take me a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. Okay, so I thought it was, there's nothing that 100 men on Mars could ever do, because that's far more intriguing than men. I mean, men are intriguing. I will give you that. I've been thinking about them half of my life, at least. But imagine if the lyrics had been, there's nothing that 100 men on Mars could ever do. I'm like, damn, when I was a kid and I heard that, yeah, I can imagine you in those headphones, Deb. Like, I know that you wore those. And the other thing is that you couldn't do many spins because it would all be tangled up. And they were usually my brother's headphones that I was wearing. And then it'd be like, why you gotta mess with my headphones? Right after I didn't put the album back the way that I was supposed to put it back, after I had snuck it out, because a number of my brothers said, please don't ever touch my albums again. So that happened as well. I'm so grateful you're on this adventure with me tonight. Thank you for being here. It's a lot of fun. And if I'm not entertaining myself, then I have to entertain other people or my dogs or my cats. Anyway, throughout the day, something good is happening with me. All right, so what are the songs that you listened to or that you heard the lyrics and misheard the lyrics that you think the lyrics are far better with your version of it? Let me know those. And so we come to the end of, let's say that that some of you out there are in quarantine. I'm not going to say we, because I'm not in quarantine. But let's say that some of you out there who are like, all right, I'm desperate. It's week 5. What I'm thinking is that we could use like cuneiform, like little tablets, and you could just write like, oh, you know what you could do? Write little tablets, like write little words, and then go cast it in a river somewhere. No, don't do that, because that's littering. Don't do that. Maybe you can just send it out. Like we can do like, hello, is there anybody out there? Oh, that's another good song. So just this idea of, how do you find a connection? How do you get rid of the people that you're like, all right, clearly this year has shown me that I love you and I really want what's best for you, but I need to grow my pod a little bit bigger beyond where I was. And if you didn't grow up in a small town, then you may not know what that's like. Maybe you grew up in a big city where there's lots and lots of choices for friends. If you grew up in a small town, not so much. Especially if you relied on other people to take you like outside of those city limits on a regular basis. I remember landing in a very small town at a young age, and I was like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? And what the hell is the matter with these people? I remember thinking that. I probably didn't think hell. I didn't think what the hell is the matter with these people. But I was like, this is weird. I may need to get out of this world and go meet some other people in other worlds. And with that, like, these are the tiny areas of life that we can start to expand. Okay, so week 5, we're on week 5. We have started to reframe what this, we're not going to call it quarantine anymore, but we're still waiting for the better name. What is the better name, people? Come on, get with it. We need a marketing crew in here. So in week 5, let's say, again, you're like at the end of relationship kind of a thing, and you're comparing that to week 5 in quarantine, or week 5 in, if you're staying at home with an ankle bracelet. Let's just say you were arrested and this is house arrest. What does week 5 look like? We can compare those 3 things together. Statistically speaking, we probably have some even analysis going on through these 3 pieces of possibilities of what could happen in any one of those circumstances. So week 5, it could be when like the gloominess is setting in, but not for us, team. No. I say for us, we are going to make week 5 far more vibrant than it could ever possibly been before. So week 5 is hitting us. Let's say that we're at the end of this relationship phase at week 5. Week 5 is when your friends are truly done listening to you complain. That's when they've had it. Could be pushing week 6 for the few that really do appreciate the end of relationships and they're like, he does suck. Or you're right. That person is a jerk, right? Like the person who agrees with you to the very end until you realize that maybe that person is like just really hung up on agreeing with whatever you have to say. And you're like, are you sure? Because I could have been a jerk. They're like, no, you're definitely not a jerk. Like it was all that other person. And then like by week 7, you're like, okay, it wasn't the other person 100%. Some of it was me. So we're at week 5. You're nearing the end of that tunnel where you're fabulous. And instead of going down the road of further torture, we're going to shift just a little bit more. And we're going to be like, what activities can be super fun this week? How many jars of Vaseline can I buy at the store or order online? I'm thinking Vaseline because it's relatively inexpensive. How many can I purchase before the person that's going to purchase them for me would think that this is strange? And then what are the grocery items that we could include in those strange bags and have those delivered to your friends throughout the week? Because that's funny. And there's a second part of that. Vaseline can be used as fuel. So you can get Vaseline cotton balls or like cardboard, and you can put the Vaseline on there and use it as a fire starter. Don't know if you knew that. There you go. There's a little survival tip. But so lots of Vaseline. And then you can be like, now what am I going to do with all of this? I don't know. Maybe that's week 7. I'm just here for ideas, people. We got to keep it flowing. I have so enjoyed my time with you, as always, because, again, otherwise it would just be me entertaining myself, which I could do, clearly. So what do your weeks ahead look like? Let's send like some really good prayers and let's raise those frequencies for ourselves and for humanity so that we can heal our own bodies. Because instead of like the fear porn that so many people are tied into, they're like, where's all the things that I can watch that I feel really terrible about myself? Where is all of that? And some people are running low on the Netflix things or whatever the TV shows are that are out there right now. So when you've had enough of the fear and your system's like in a knockdown, drag out fight, I don't know if you've been in a boxing match before, but you got to be able to get beyond round 3. Like you can't just stay in like round 1, round 2, round 3. Round 3 is where it starts getting good. You got to be able to get past that. So in that space, let's say that we're at round 2 right now, and I'm your coach, and we're in the corner, and I'm like, okay, you gotta come up with a new game plan because you're getting the crap beat out of you out there. So you ladder up with all the Vaseline. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, we're gonna make it through, man. We're gonna do this. We're gonna put on some great music. We're going to get that set list together. You're going to clean the hell out of your house. It's going to be sparkling clean. You're going to talk to the mail person every time that mail person rolls through. You're going to bake yourself some cookies or do whatever you can in order to really start bringing in 2021 with a whole new flavor. Whatever your favorite flavor is, do that. Another piece that you can throw in here is get some wonderful scented, like not things that make you cough or like gag, but things that you're like, oh, I really like that scent, and invest in that so that by week 7, you're like, okay, I've run out of my set list. I don't know what songs anymore. I'm so done with this. And remember, it's how you deal with the end of, like how you enter death, basically. When you finally realize that your relationship is over of the very old you and whatever that was, but you're like, damn, I really love some parts of me back there. And then you're like, and I really want to incorporate some of those parts of me. Let's make this as vibrant as humanly possible as we are entering 2021. Let's do that. Stay on my team, people. I believe in you. We can do this. You're going to see me like right after this. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't know how people make it through. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's not me at all. All right. And I love you. Spread the cheer or be grumpy, but do it vibrantly with a lot of laughter, like your favorite old uncle. Be that guy. Okay. Oh, drop in with me. Bananas, get bananas, and Vaseline. Yeah. Oh, quarantine. There you go, Rolo. Yeah. See, I love this. There you go. And Candace, there we go. I like to see how many different amazing outfits I can put together in a day. Yeah, I love that. That's so much fun. For me, I'm like, am I going to wear this plaid today or that plaid today? You know, but, or these jeans, or should I wear those jeans today? But I do get into my dress up, I giddy up sometimes. I don't know why I just put that accent on. All right. I love you all so much. There, this is me giving you a hug, and this is me like kissing your sweet face all over, because you know that that's what I do, and I always get your eyelids because that's gross. Sometimes I lick your cheek right there. That's me. Oh, I adore you so much. All of you out there. Remember to breathe. Drop in with me with your music. Post it to the Lighthouse Effects pages. Post it to Spirituality Gone Wild. We'll get some fun stuff rolling out this week. And I believe in you. And spread this to like people who are like, I don't know that I can make it into another week. Like, give them this, because this is free. Almost, you know, apart from all of the information that Facebook and all of those other platforms are gathering on you. Apart from that. All right, go be happy or go be sad, but do it vibrantly. Okay, love you. Bye, beauties.